What is the Mat-Su Resource Conservation and Development Council?
We're actually an unfunded federal program. That's what I like to joke about.
Okay.
So we don't get funding anymore, but we're still recognized.
And so you're a nonprofit organization.
Exactly. We're a nonprofit.
And how do you get your money if you don't get federal funding?
We get some state funding. We partner with other agencies. We get some private funding. We work with the borough.
How are you bringing economic development to the valley? Give us some examples.
A lot of the economic development, it's hard to say how do you create economic development. I think it's how do you encourage it and keep it moving, you know, is a lot of the things a lot of economic development organizations end up doing.
But if you're getting government money for economic development, it seems like you should be able to give us some examples of, well, here's some things we've done. How can you prevent a business from going out of business?
Well, if you ask them what their challenges are, if they need training, if they need better staff training, workforce development, and then we go out and you build implementable plans because of this. That's the key part. It's not just writing a strategy.
So you
that one I wouldn't is putting the program in place.
Wouldn't these entrepreneurs have a plan themselves to run their business and be successful? Why would they need you to come in and tell them how to run their business?
I'm not trying to tell them how to run their business.
Well, how to not go out of business?
I'm finding out what they need, what their needs are. That's
what
this
they know
plan
what they
will
need.
do.
Why do they need you to know what they need?
Then I try and go out and help them find the funding for it or connect them to the right partner.
Does the Chamber of Commerce take government money?
No.
Okay.
That's all membership.
Okay. And of course, Mat-Su Business Alliance, they don't take government money.
That's all membership too.
Right.
Yeah.
So why do we have your organization? Well, if there are other organizations out there that don't need to take taxpayer money to help provide help to businesses, why do we need a taxpayer-funded organization?
If we are that liaison to be able to go out and connect them with, if it's the private sector or the public sector.
But why do we need taxpayer money for that?
We are that liaison. I don't think you could do it with private sector. Now, we don't, remember, we also have private sector members to support us.
But why couldn't you do it with private sector business?
I don't believe that we have the support right now from the private sector to just do something like this. In a perfect world, Dan, I would agree with you 100%.
Well, then isn't that proof that you're not needed? Because if you were needed, the private sector would support you. So my point is, doesn't that prove that your organization is not needed because
no, actually, I would disagree.
It's not self-sustaining?
I would disagree with you that it's not needed. Well, there are so many organizations.
It may be helpful.
Yeah.
But if it's not self-sustaining, why should taxpayers have to undergird it when there are so many other organizations doing what you're doing?
There aren't. I don't believe there are that many organizations doing what we're doing. Because another layer of what we do is we help other organizations try and find funding that they can't tap, that they can't tap into.
To get more taxpayer money.
If it's maybe taxpayer money, maybe it isn't taxpayer money. Maybe it's private sector money through a foundation. So we tap those.
Last week, and I don't mean to put this all on you.
Yes, you do.
But we just hit $16 trillion in debt.
I know.
Somebody somewhere is going to have to stand up and say, okay, this is just not necessary.
I think the ARDA program, because remember, we don't get any federal funding anymore. Okay, that's gone. And all it really was, the federal funding that RC&D's got, were room and board. Okay. We had an office.
So you get zero federal funding?
Zero federal funding.
You get all just state funding?
State and private funding.
Okay, but does any of that state money, is that federal grants funneled through the state?
No, that's state. That little bit that I get is from the state.
Well, you get 60% of your...
60,000 what I get from the state.
Well, I thought you said 60% of your funding was from the government.
Well, then there's other, if I go out and I get a grant, but you got to remember.
But those are federal grants.
And that goes right back in the community.
But that's federal funding.
Okay, federal funding.
So you do get federal funding. So you are adding to the deficit.
No, I don't believe about that.
Well, if you get money from the federal government and then you spend it, that's not adding to the deficit?
Okay, you got me.
Okay. So 60% of what you get is from the government, either state or federal.
Some type of funding, exactly right.
And 40% of what you get is from private contributors.
Probably, that's right.
Why not live within the private contributors? Why not tailor your business within that 40% that you get from the private sector? And that way you don't have to take taxpayer money.
And I understand what you're saying, and I would love to be able to do that. Trust me. Maybe my thinking is a little skewed, but if I'm not helping someone secure funding for their project, be it from a foundation or a federal grant that's out there. And I know that that's going to go in the community and help a private sector job or a private sector company create a job or have work. Is it better for me not to leave that money on the table and have someone down in lower 48 get it? Or would it be better for us to get that knowing that it's going to be put back in the community? That's probably how I justify it.
But you understand the big picture flaw of that logic.
Yeah.
Because if everyone adopted that mentality, well, they do, and that's where we are.
Yeah.
If I don't get it, somebody else will, so I better get mine. And we've got 16 trillion in debt.
Yeah, I look at it, Dan, as if I don't help this guy help with his business, will he go out of business? I'm not the one that's creating the programs.
But you're facilitating them. I understand that.
I don't know.
Well, you're the middle guy. Yeah. You're funneling the money.
I'm helping. The way I look at it is,
you're not helping anybody. Well, taxpayers are helping.
Yeah. I'm just helping someone get the funding.
Well, no, you're not helping anybody. You're taking somebody else's money and giving it to the business guy. It's not your checkbook.
No, you're right. It isn't my checkbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.